Hi, this is Alessio. I hope you're well and I hope you're having a good weekend. Just a quick update for you on Bitcoin. Now, I wasn't going to make a video this weekend at all about Bitcoin because I'm still on holiday. And when I'm on holiday, I don't really like to make any videos or look at charts at all. But I'm going to make an exception here for Bitcoin because of what happened over the last couple of days. As we can see here, Bitcoin just dropped to just below the 10K level here, as you can see. Now, I'll come back to this chart in a few minutes. Before I do that, though, let me just say that I was staying in this hotel a few days ago in the south of England, in Torquay. And guys, let me tell you, I went to the bar and I tried this whiskey, which I've never seen before or even tasted. It's called Hibiki, and apparently it's some kind of Japanese whiskey. And guys, let me tell you, by the way, what I'm going to say right now might upset anyone watching this in Scotland or in Tennessee. But I'm going to say it anyway. Guys, this is by far the most delicious and amazing whiskey I've ever tasted in my life. Okay, let me just say, I don't know what it is. It's about the taste and the smell of it. It's just amazing. So this is a Japanese whiskey. Now, let me tell you, I've tasted a lot of whiskeys, a lot of expensive Scotch whiskeys and Jack Daniels, obviously. But guys, this is something else. It's something completely different. So, if you're in the bar next time, or if you want to try something new and something totally amazing that's going to blow you away, give this a try, Hibiki. By the way, guys, let me just say this, make it very clear. Hibiki is not sponsoring this video. All right, guys, this is not an advert for them. I just happen to love what I tasted in this hotel. So, cheers, guys. By the way, let me say this. If you're a recovering alcoholic or if you don't drink, then my huge apologies to you. I wasn't trying to tempt you into drinking, obviously, so please ignore everything I just said a few minutes ago. All right, guys, let's get back to the chart of Bitcoin. Now, it will come as no surprise to you why I sound quite excited about Bitcoin, because it's essentially, in the last couple of days, Bitcoin has been following exactly our script as we predicted it would. Because just yesterday, as you can see here, I think it was just the last couple of days, in fact, you can see here that Bitcoin fell just below the 10K level there, sub 10K. And in case you're wondering, why is that so significant? Why is that so important? Because, guys, Bitcoin so far has been following exactly our script for the last several months. You may recall that back in the month of June, as a matter of fact, I made a video for you. You may recall that in that video back in June. So let me just show you this. Back over here in the month of June and July, in fact, while everybody was bearish, everyone was calling for Bitcoin to drop, I was one of the few people who was bullish, and I was saying, nope, Bitcoin is going to break higher and move to 12K level. And then once we hit 12K, I was expecting a move back down to 10K and to sub 10K levels. In fact, here's a quick video clip for you of what I said, and we'll come back. Here it is. So here's what I think is likely to happen in the next few months, at least before September. I think Bitcoin potentially is going to break through this resistance that you're seeing here, this downtrend line. And I think we could be heading towards the targets that I mentioned to you previously. In a previous video, I mentioned to you that I think Bitcoin is going to head by the end of the year towards 12,000, which is a modest target. It's kind of a realistic target. I actually think Bitcoin could easily get to those levels this year, 12,000 potentially. I think Bitcoin is going to break out of this resistance, this downtrend line, and eventually when we get above the 10,000 level, we're potentially heading towards the 12,000 target some point this summer. Now, here's the bottom line. And again, I haven't come to the most bullish part of my call yet. Okay, so wait for it. So here's the bottom line. Once we break out of this resistance trend line and we go above the 10,000 level, what I think is going to happen is we're going to see a lot of people, dumb money, joining in. What's going to happen is when Bitcoin moves above 10,000, goes to 11,000, 12,000, you're going to see dumb money FOMOing, again, fear of missing out, getting into Bitcoin, again, mostly at the worst possible time. So I think, guys, something very similar to that is going to happen. Once Bitcoin breaks above the 10,000, moves towards 11,000, 12,000 levels, be very careful, because I think the dumb money once again is going to come out shouting, oh my God, we're going to go to 20,000 now, 30,000 now. This is never going to look back. There's not going to be any pullbacks whatsoever. And be very careful. That means very soon, once we get above the 12,000 level or near that level, we're going to experience a correction. Be very cautious, very careful, because I think Bitcoin is going to give us one more chance, one more opportunity to get long on Bitcoin below the 10,000 level. In other words, guys, that correction, which is likely to happen sometime in September, that is going to be probably the last time Bitcoin is going to be sub 10K, below 10K. Probably the last time we'll have a chance to get long on Bitcoin at below the 10,000 level before we see the next major move up towards the previous highs of last year, 13,800 and potentially even higher, 16,000, 20,000, and eventually higher levels. Do you think at some point this year, before the end of the year, we'll likely test 10K again? Because this could be quite important for people out there who feel like they missed out on the recent rally that we had, the recent breakout above 10K. I personally think it's probable. I think it's quite likely it might happen, especially when the stock market eventually has a correction. Because the correlation with the stock market, with the S&P, I think Bitcoin and the stock market will probably have a a nice decent correction in the price, a retracement?
Yeah, I think that it's a sort of general rule of the markets that you normally get a second chance if you have missed out. So I think it's quite likely. I think the good news probably is that if there's going to be that retest or second chance, I would expect it to come in the next few weeks, let's say.
All right, guys, so as you heard me say there in that video from back in June and also the most recent one with Zach, I was expecting Bitcoin to actually give us a second chance at the 10K and the sub 10K levels, which we got, by the way, yesterday. As you can see, just below the 10K level, we hit that on Bitcoin. And as a matter of fact, when I saw Bitcoin dropping to just below the 10K level, I could only hear one piece of music, which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's the Ferris Bueller music. Yeah, you know the one I mean. Anyway, so when it dropped below the 10K level, briefly, I think it went as low as on the Bitstamp chart, it went below it went to 9966. And I think on the CME chart, we just take a look at the CME chart. Yeah, on this chart, it dropped to 9905. In any case, the fact is, guys, that we saw sub 10K levels on Bitcoin just recently. And by the way, I had orders placed. I had some buy limit orders placed at just below the 10K level, and they got triggered. By the way, there's only a small amount. I was only nibbling with small amounts there. Now, I'm sure the question you're probably wondering is, well, okay, Alessio, does this mean Bitcoin now has bottomed? Has it actually now made the correction now? And are we now going to start the major bull market rally? Well, here's the thing, guys. Look, take a look at this chart. And again, you will see what Bitcoin has done here. Bitcoin has broken out of this multi-year, multi-month downtrend line. And again, I said back in June that I think very likely we could break this trend line to the upside. But in any case, the fact is that Bitcoin broke out of that trend line that you can see there, that rising trend line, went to our target at 12K and then dropped back to the levels we were expecting to. In other words, a retest of the 10K and the sub 10K levels, and a level that I mentioned to you several weeks and months ago, which was the 21 weekly average. You can see the Bitcoin drop back down on this weekly chart. Is a weekly chart of Bitcoin. Notice where it dropped down to, that blue line. That is the weekly 21 moving average. The reason why I use a 21 moving average is because of Fibonacci numbers. I use Fibonacci sequences. Now, here's the thing, guys. In case you're wondering, well, so what? Here's the reason. You see, guys, in a bull market, like the one we saw on Bitcoin from 2015 all the way to 2017 peak here, all right, guys, throughout this entire bull market that you're seeing here from 2015, 2018, Bitcoin followed this pattern beautifully. What was the pattern? Well, take a look. Bitcoin rallies, okay, Bitcoin rallies parabolically, and then pulls back to the 21, and then boom, bounces, okay, pulls back to the 21 again, as you can see here. Let me just mark it for you. So that was a 21 pullback, that was a 21 pullback, and then boom, bounces. Then another pullback to the 21, holds it, and then boom, bounces. Another pullback to the 21, boom, bounces. Pullback to the 21, boom, bounces. And of course, rallies. Pull back to the 21, boom, bounces, and then rallies higher. Pull back to the 21 again, boom, bounces, and it goes higher again. So this is a very typical pattern we see in bull markets, especially on Bitcoin, for example. And guys, that is exactly what is expecting here on Bitcoin. A pullback, as you can see here, this is the weekly long-term chart on Bitcoin. And yes, did we get a pullback to the 21? Absolutely. Just a few days ago, we had this pullback, as you can see here. So first of all, remember, rally, okay, and then a pullback to the 21. And what I'm expecting now on Bitcoin in the short term, I think in the short term, in the next, I think probably the next week or so, we're likely to see a bounce. I think very likely we could see a bounce here on Bitcoin. So the question you're probably wondering is, well, does this mean Bitcoin has bottomed? Is this correction over? Well, here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, the minimum requirement, so let me just make this point very clear. The minimum requirement for a bull market continuation and a pullback has been made. Okay, so the pattern for a bull market continuation, like the one, for example, we saw in like this chart over here from 2015, 2018, the typical pattern for a bull market continuation and a pullback has been done, has been made. So as far as I'm concerned, from a chart and technical perspective, all the conditions for a bull market continuation and a bullish breakout have been made. Okay, we've already explained why. We've had a breakout from the trend line to 12K. We've had a pullback to the 21. So all the conditions for a pullback and a bull market continuation have been made. Okay, now the only reason why I think it's possible that Bitcoin may drop a bit further lower in the next few months as we head towards the election is for one thing and one thing only. And that's because of the stock market. Take a look. This is the S&P. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, because I've mentioned this several times in our videos, there is a strong correlation between Bitcoin and the stock market, the S&P. Take a look at this chart and you'll see very strong correlation, as you can see here, between Bitcoin and the stock market. The correlation between them is quite close. And guys, that means this. That means if the stock market continues to see a drop in the next few months, because here's the thing, guys, I'm expecting a major correction on the stock markets in the next few months as we head towards the elections. Okay, this is the weekly chart of the S&P. So notice that we've had this massive rally. Okay, we've had this massive rally, a 6-month rally since the bottom in March, all the way to the highs that we made recently in September. We've had a 6-month rally in the stock markets. Now, are you going to tell me that that's the only correction we're going to get? That's it? That's the only correction we're going to get? No, that is highly improbable. All right, guys. So I'm expecting a major correction in the stock markets between now, and I would say October, as we get close to the election season. Now, this drop we had recently in the stock market could perhaps be the start of that correction. We don't know yet. It's too early to call. It's too early to say that, because we're still in an uptrend. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, on the S&P, this is still an uptrend. The fact is, guys, once that particular correction begins and actually happens, I think that correction on the stock market could drag Bitcoin down with it. All right, guys, again, because of the correlation. Okay, because Bitcoin and the stock markets are very much correlated. If the stock market drops, which I think is quite probable, it's quite likely in the next few months as we get close to the election period, that correction, that drop in the stock market could very well drag Bitcoin down with it, kicking and screaming. Okay, now, how much lower could we go? That depends on the stock market. A lot of it depends on the stock market. So the only reason, and that's the only reason why I think there's a chance that Bitcoin probably has not bottomed here. And, we might see a bounce. I think we might see a bounce in the next week or so. I'm expecting at least a short-term bounce. But the only reason why I don't think Bitcoin has made a complete bottom here, and we might see a bit further downside action on Bitcoin, is only because of the stock market, okay, of the S&P. Because if the stock market has a major correction next few months, which is quite likely, then it's going to drag crypto and Bitcoin down with it. Which, by the way, is probably good news for some of you who like to buy Bitcoin cheaper. But by the way, let me just say this. Even though I say that, if Bitcoin does break above 12K, and that's an if, it's a huge if Bitcoin does break out above 12K in the next couple of months and stays above 12K, so if we stay above 12K, then I will have to change my mind and say, you know what, Bitcoin probably has bottomed here. But let me just say this, I don't actually expect that. I think that carries a lower probability at the moment. So again, let me say that so far, Bitcoin has been following our script beautifully. Okay. And by the way, you may remember in that video I posted back in June, I said this, and I'm going to say this again, that this is the last time. This is the last time we're seeing Bitcoin at the 10K and the sub-10K region here. Okay. So even if we drop below 10K again in the next few months, I think this is the last time we're going to see Bitcoin near these beautiful 10K or sub-10K levels. Because then I'm expecting a huge bull market higher in the next few years. In fact, as we start the new year in 2021, I'm expecting a major bull market continuation, again, towards the 20,000 and, of course, significantly higher levels in the next few years. So I think, again, just to repeat my point, if Bitcoin does indeed fall below 10K in the next few months, then I think, in my view, this is the last time we're going to see Bitcoin sub 10K between that next major bull market, the next major bull market rally higher. And by the way, when that happens, I'm sure we can all hear that beautiful music, the two beautiful words in the English language, which are chicka chicka. Exactly. All right, guys, hope this video helps. If it has, please give it a thumbs up and look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.
Well, that chicka chicka makes me think you're not Chadley.
Oh no, I chicka chicka too early.